Everywhere he looks, another girl is invading his personal space like it is free real estate. Ikuto, Ikun, Big Brother. The nicknames are flying at him faster than he can dodge. He is analyzing the trajectory of every greeting, trying to figure out if it is affection or a tactical ambush. It is a relentless barrage of attention. You have to ask yourself, is this actually paradise, or is he just the limited time special on the menu? He is sweating bullets, realizing he might be the dessert. Welcome to a twisted reality where the laws of nature got flipped on their head. In this world, the ladies are the ones with the aggressive thirst, and the guys are the endangered species. They are straight up carnivorous, stalking the hallways like apex predators looking for a snack. You can see the hunger in their eyes as they lock onto a target. Ichisa Ikuto has spent 15 years playing this survival game on hard mode, and somehow, he is still standing. He treats every walk to class like a tactical stealth mission. He got reincarnated into a world with a gender ratio of 1 to 20. The math is absolutely broken, and the supply and demand curve is a vertical line. On paper, it sounds like a dream setup, but in practice, it is a survival horror game. When you are the only water source in a desert, people do not ask nicely, they swarm. You have to keep your guard up 24/7. He learned to keep his head on a swivel before he could even walk properly. The trauma started way back during his first public outing with his mom, realizing the world wanted to eat him alive. He waited for the aggro to shift. The moment his mom locked eyes with the shopkeeper over some loot, he saw his window, stealth mode engaged. He broke formation instantly to explore the uncharted map. He was just vibing, walking around totally unaware that he had wandered into a high-level zone. Then, the radar pinged hard. A local NPC spotted the rare drop, and the vibes shifted immediately. They swarmed him instantly like he was the last loot box on Earth. Zero personal space. Just creepy invites to Big Sister's house and hungry stares. To them, he wasn't a human child, he was a walking SSR gotcha pull. He scrambled to break the encirclement, gasping for air and mentally scarring himself for life. That was way too close. He barely dodged the bad ending route. But the boss fight was not over yet. Mom caught him red-handed and absolutely roasted him for trying to speedrun his own kidnapping. Talk about a critical hit to the ego. Middle school was basically solitary confinement because the guy had zero chill. But he hits the delete button on that trauma. He steps onto campus with one singular brain cell devoted to a mission, building the biggest, most degenerate harem this school has ever witnessed. That was the plan anyway. He walks into class and immediately realizes he walked into a hostage situation. Two guys are vibrating in their boots, looking like prey animals, while a pack of girls closes in. His brain short-circuits. In his old life, this scenario was the absolute jackpot. Here, it looks like a survival horror game. Thankfully, the teacher cuts the tension before anyone gets turned into a snack. Suddenly, the cavalry kicks down the door. Two elite students step in and order the thirsty mob to back off. These are the male guardians. Basically, glorified bodyguards hired to stop the boys from getting kidnapped by their own classmates. But the boys are not rolling the dice on survival. They scream in terror and tactical sprint out of the building like they are escaping the zone. The guardians sigh and chase them down, while the rest of the class watches like it is a bad sitcom. And just to be clear on the lore here, a male guardian is not a guy who guards. It is a girl who guards the males. Because in this world, boys are the legendary loot drops that everyone is trying to farm. Ishii is slumped over the desk, running the numbers in his head like a Wall Street broker during a crash. He looks at the competition and just doesn't get it. Why are the girls chasing generic NPCs when there is legendary loot sitting right here? Then his radar pings. He catches a whisper from the back of the room. Two girls are plotting. They are desperate to get into his personal space. It is showtime. He slams his hand on the desk with enough force to crack the wood and volunteers himself as tribute. He flashes the $1,000,000 smile and tells them the goal is wide open. And then he fumbles the bag immediately. His voice cracks like a dial-up modem trying to connect to the internet in 1999. The girls look at him like he just spoke alien. They explain the problem isn't the location, it is the obstacle. Tosaka is always blocking the path. Ichisi completely misses the point and starts giving them GPS coordinates to his desk. But they shut him down cold. They aren't lost. They are shipping him. They think Ichisei and Tosaka are the school's power couple, and they refuse to sink the ship with their presence. Ichisei's brain short-circuits. He starts waving his arms around, frantically explaining that Tosaka is just a dude, not his soulmate. He screams his lungs out to clarify that he is strictly interested in the female demographic. The girls take the hint, realize they made it weird, and tactically retreat. They leave him to rot in the awkward silence. He tries to salvage his ego with a quick stat check in the reflection. Hair is styled to perfection. Abs are popping. On paper, he is a top-tier catch. But looking at the empty classroom, the harsh reality sets in. Being a catch doesn't matter if nobody is fishing. The harem dream is officially on life support. Since the school rules strictly forbid guys from walking home alone to avoid getting snatched, Ikuto thought, better find my meat shield. He went to hunt down his ride. He found Rui holding court with a harem of girls, forcing the poor guy to apologize and extract himself for his official guardian duties. Meet Tosaka Rui. Silver hair, infinite eyelashes, and legs that go on for days. He was a literal prince, a high-spec masterpiece that made every girl in the hallway stop and stare. And somehow, this absolute specimen was Ikuto's guardian. Rui apologized for the delay, admitting his fan club had ambushed him the second he stepped out of class. Ikuto tried to laugh it off, thinking it was a joke, but Rui's face went dark. He knew that if anything happened to the boy under his protection, he would never forgive himself. He swore to stay by Ikuto's side forever, delivering the line with so much unintentional riz that Ikuto nearly choked. It was blinding. Standing next to perfection made Ikuto feel like a background NPC in his own life, completely overshadowed. He snapped, screaming at the ceiling. He thought, is this some kind of sick joke? Even in a world where the girls are the thirsty ones, he was still getting zero play. Rui just smiled, asking if having him wasn't enough. Ikuto grit his teeth, forced to admit he couldn't even hate the guy for being perfect. At least he had a loyal friend for life. But the wholesome vibes were sent to the lobby instantly when Rui froze, his eyes locking onto something dangerous down the hall. Rui practically short-circuited trying to process the accidental flirting. His brain went into error mode. He flushed red, denied the vibes entirely, and aggressively pivoted the conversation just to get them moving before he melted. They headed straight for the station to grab some burgers, trying desperately to keep the mood light. But then Rui's eyes went dead serious. He swore to absolutely delete any pervert who dared to look at Ikuto the wrong way. He was ready to send someone to the lobby. Ikuto had to laugh. He thought Rui was the actual walking target with that face card, but the wholesome vibes didn't last long. Rui started pulling up receipts from the past. He roasted Ikuto for being a total menace who used to chase girls with zero survival instincts. He even mocked his old pickup lines. Ikuto screamed and begged him to stop the cringe compilation. The emotional damage was critical. He tried to play the isekai card. He claimed the lag from respawning as a baby messed up his social skills. Nice try, buddy. Rui snapped into lecture mode. In this world, men are like SSR pulls in a gacha game. Extremely rare and highly stealable. If you walk alone, you get snatched. Rui grabbed his bag and locked down the formation so his VIP client wouldn't wander into a kidnapping event. Speak of the devil, and a wild encounter spawns right in front of them. A random girl has cornered a terrified businessman, demanding he play with her. She steps right into his personal hitbox, invading his space with absolutely zero chill. Rui doesn't hesitate. He steps into the fray, ordering her to release the hostage immediately. He warns her that aggressive farming like this causes serious emotional damage. The crowd gasps, staring at the scene like they just witnessed someone get sent to the lobby. She runs the calculations in her head and realizes her power level is way too low for this fight. She hits the tactical sprint button and flees the scene before she gets deleted. Crisis averted. Rui breaks down the current meta. The buddy system is the only hard counter to these thirsty mobs roaming the streets. Ikuto nods along, realizing that solo queuing in this zone is a rookie mistake. But inside his head, Ikuto knows Rui is the real MVP. Even after 15 years surviving in this glitched out world, Ikuto still thinks like a guy from Earth. He just can't seem to overwrite his original save file, no matter how many patches this reality gets. Ikuto is still running that NPC logic, convinced his average stats act like a stealth mechanic against trouble. He thinks if he stays boring enough, the plot will just skip him. He knows he has been a massive liability, basically a walking escort quest, but Rui never kicked him from the party. That is pure loyalty right there. Then he flips the script. He warns Rui to watch out for creeps, completely ignoring that Rui is the tank here. That is like a level 1 slime telling the Demon Lord to be careful. Suddenly, a random suit interrupts them. He praises their manly courage until he spots the school crest and freezes. The color drains from his face faster than a disconnected player. The guy glitches out instantly. He mumbles a frantic excuse and sprints away like he just aggroed a raid boss. He is gone. Ikuto tries to analyze the weird encounter, but Rui shuts it down. He is not wasting XP on glitchy NPCs. They wrap up the day with some hamburger steaks to restore stamina. Ikuto finally hits the save point at his front door. Rui waves him off and heads into the sunset. He is desperate to unequip that stiff uniform and relax. Back at the crib, Rui is trying to process the absolute circus she just lived through. She shakes her head, thinking, how did I even survive that without blowing my cover? The stress is real. Then it hits her. Ikuto is still completely in the dark. The guy thinks male guardian is just a fancy name for a boys club. Honestly, you could write a book on that man's density. It is practically a superpower at this point. But enough thinking. It is time to shed the skin. Her fingers fumble with the collar, undoing the buttons one by one. She works the belt, desperate to get out of character and just breathe for a second. A wave of panic washes over her. She freezes. If Ikuto found out the truth right now, his brain would probably blue screen of death. She can practically hear the dial-up noise in his head just imagining it. She rips the fabric apart and boom, there is the reveal. Tight Sarashi bindings are wrapped around her chest, crushing everything down to maintain the illusion. We have got a classic plot twist on our hands, folks. That is right, Rui is 100% female. She stares down at the white bandages, and the reality sinks in. It is not just a disguise, it is a barrier. And she is terrified that if she takes it off, everything changes. At this point, she does not give a damn about the agency rules or the job description. All that matters is the guy. She just wants Ikuto to look past the uniform and accept the girl hiding underneath. Talk about high stakes. Welcome to a server where the devs completely messed up the spawn rates. The gender ratio is absolutely cooked. We are talking one dude for every 20 ladies. You might think this sounds like a dream, but hold your horses. This isn't some cozy harem fantasy. It is straight up survival mode, where the girls are the hunters and the guys are basically loot drops. The dating meta here is completely backwards. The men are so fragile that the women actually have to nerf themselves just to get a match. Look at this strategy. She is binding her chest tighter than a zip file because in this world, having curves is considered a threat. She has to look flat and harmless just to convince a guy he isn't about to get sent to the lobby by a hug. Rui is deep in the emo zone, staring at her reflection. She realizes this harmless girl act is just a low-level skin for the absolute monster she used to be. But then, ping. A single notification from Ikuto snaps her back to reality. Meanwhile, our boy Ikuto is locked in on a critical mission. Target acquired Kyushu soy sauce chips. You have to respect the priorities. But in this world, a dude shopping alone is not just an errand, it is a spectacle. The locals are staring at him like he is an exotic animal that just escaped the zoo. He tries to tactically retreat to the checkout, but boom, ambushed. He instantly calls her out on the stalking behavior, but Rui counters with a swift chop to the dome. She claims it is pure coincidence, but come on, we all know she is camping his spawn point. Turns out, he actually doxed himself. He texted her his location earlier like a good little loot drop, practically begging for the escort mission. He brags about surviving the grocery run, but then his eyes drift down. He remembers the nerf to her character model and asks the forbidden question. Yo, what is up with your chest? Ikuto's brain is buffering at 99%. He stammers, eyes wide, trying to process the sudden physics update that just dropped right in front of him. Rui freezes solid. The realization hits harder than a truck. In the panic to save him, she forgot the most critical item in her loadout, the chest binder. We are talking total stealth failure. She spirals instantly. Internal monologue goes dark. If he rejects her true form now, it is game over. She cannot even look him in the eye. Ikuto opens his mouth to deliver the ultimate verdict. And then, he says the dumbest thing possible. He actually accuses her of cross-dressing as a girl just to teach him a lesson about danger. Are you kidding me? Rui is flabbergasted. She hits him with a sigh so heavy it alters the gravity in the room. You absolutely dense walnut. She calls him an idiot and honestly, stick a fork in him, he is done. Ikuto starts monologuing like a tragic hero. He admits he is jealous of the pampered guys because he is still stuck in that reincarnated loser mindset. The man just wants to be popular. But as they turn to leave, he mutters the quiet part out loud. Rui with curves? Actually not bad. Rui whips around so fast she nearly snaps her own neck. Ikuto is fighting demons right now. He looks at Rui, who is looking absolutely adorable, and his brain completely fries. One side says culture achieved, while the other screams, "Wait, that is a dude!" It is absolute chaos in the cranium. Rui needs the confirmation though. She asks if it is really okay, and Ikuto doubles down with zero hesitation. No stutter, just facts. That is the green light. Rui accepts that only Ikuto sees the real person inside. She is back in high spirits and suggests they head home, but she leaves him with one final hook just to keep things spicy. Rui pulls out the phone and checks the group chat, dropping a tactical nuke on the vibe. It is a message from his precious little brother. Ikuto lets out a groan that vibrates through his soul because he knows exactly what kind of nightmare fuel is waiting for him. We cut back to base where cousin Kuno is sitting on her throne with her arms crossed like a final boss. She demands to know if he is properly kneeling in Seiza yet. Talk about asserting total dominance over the household hierarchy. Ikuto is already fused to the floorboards, sweating bullets. He asks if she is salty about his solo potato chip run, but she refuses to even make eye contact. She claims she is not bothered at all, but the air pressure in the room just dropped 10 degrees. Then she puffs her cheeks out in a massive pout that defies physics. Ikuto knows the truth behind that face. She is not just mad. She is actively plotting his deletion in 40 different ways. He decides to play his trump card to de-escalate the situation. He shouts that he survived the trip without a single girl hitting on him. It is a brilliant defense, until he realizes he just roasted himself into oblivion. Kuno completely ignores his lack of game and doubles down on the paranoia. She reminds him that women in the outside world are dangerous predators just waiting to strike. She might be a middle schooler, but she guards him like a maximum security warden watching a flight risk. Her aura turns pitch black, sucking the light out of the room. She swears that if he ever gets attacked, she will declare total war on every woman in existence. That is some heavy yandere energy right there. Kuno freezes up, realizing she just went full mask off. She totally exposed her hand and let her emotions run wild. She admits she is terrified of becoming dead weight. She warns him that his lack of fear is not a superpower, it is a fatal flaw that will get him sent to the lobby. She even offers to lock away her possessive side if it cramps his style. He actually thanks her for the thought, polite as ever. Then she asks if he will stop accidentally rizzing up every girl he meets. He gives a non-committal shrug, refusing to make any promises. He refuses to live in fear just because society says so. He calls blind obedience boring, proving he plays the game on his own difficulty setting. Kuno asks if he can really handle her intensity. He grins and tells her to bring on the chaos. Absolute Chad energy. He calculates the optimal solution. He drops a tactical ice cream bribe, and Kuno instantly folds. Lecture adjourned. His mom slides in with dessert, admitting his antics are glitching out her worldview. He asks if he is too much to handle, shamelessly fishing for a performance review. She denies it instantly, calling him the perfect son. He respects the hustle because she does not baby him. She lets him handle his own business, just like the old days. She extends that independence policy to Kuno, and the girl gets all flustered. She murmurs a shy thank you. Absolute wholesome energy. Mom flips the switch and gets real though. She warns him that some people cannot speak their minds, and one wrong word can delete a relationship permanently. Ikuto laughs it off, claiming he is safe because there are not any idiots nearby. Talk about being dense. Kuno goes silent, gripping her clothes tight. She is fighting demons, trying not to scream her feelings out loud. Back in the classroom, the lecture is pure NPC dialogue, absolute snooze material. But Ikuto? He is already logged out, miles deep in dreamland. Rui cannot help but stare at the sleeping beauty. Usually, guys have their guards up like they are in a ranked match, sweating bullets. But this dude? He is wide open. It is the first time she has not felt like she needs to pop a defensive cooldown around a guy. And there is a heavy reason for that. Her history with the male species is not just bad, it is a glitchy mess. Rewind the clock to the playground. Rui was not just tall, she was a skyscraper. The local brats did not see a classmate, they saw a literal raid boss spawning in the sandbox. They called her a freak, a giant, spreading rumors that she would aggro on them the second they made eye contact. That kind of judgment leaves a permanent debuff on your soul. It got lonely fast. Even the girls treated her like a radioactive hazard. She was basically playing solo on an empty server, waiting for a party invite that never came. So she tried to delete her own femininity from the source code. She wrapped her chest so tight it crushed her ribs, just to hide her hitbox from the world. But suffocating yourself is not exactly a meta strategy for survival. She decided to respec her character stats entirely. She became the Eichmann girl, the handsome prince archetype. She changed her voice, her walk. She optimized the whole package. The fan service worked like a charm. She got popular instantly. But inside, she was miserable. She knew they were only clapping for the skin she equipped, not the player behind the keyboard. She felt like a total fraud. But then, a teacher slid a brochure across the desk. It was a job opening for a male guardian. Rui hesitated. Guarding the very gender that rejected her? That sounds like a trap. But curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to inspect the quest details. The scholarship money was too stacked to ignore. Rui ran the numbers in her head. Dignity is nice, but solvency is better. She decided to secure the bag, regardless of the gender politics. She introduced herself to the staff and prepared to meet the target. She walked in and Ikuto just froze. He stared at her like she was a legendary drop he wasn't high enough level to equip. The silence was painful. Rui started sweating bullets, asking if she had something on her face while praying her existence wasn't the issue. Then he spoke. He wasn't judging her, he was fanboying. He called her insanely handsome and just assumed she was the most popular guy on campus. The misunderstanding was massive. Rui had to burst his bubble immediately. She looked down at the floor and admitted she had 0 friends. We are talking absolutely tragic social stats. 0 charisma build. Ikuto panicked. He bowed so fast he created actual wind pressure, apologizing for assuming her life story. Rui told him to chill out before he gave himself whiplash. He tried to speedrun the friendship. He asked for first names only. Rui felt her heart spike at the sudden intimacy. It was a critical hit to her defenses, but she agreed to drop the formal speech. Ikuto smiled, and it hit her. That was the first time a boy had ever looked at her without disgust. No fear, just genuine interest. She had to ask the hard question. Was he not scared of her size? She felt like a literal raid boss standing next to him, but Ikuto just shrugged. He didn't see a monster. He told her appearance is just a texture pack. It is the personality that matters. Rui was shook. No guy had ever said anything that real to her. Her prejudice against men started to crack. Maybe they weren't all NPCs with bad coding. She held back tears as he reached out. He asked for a partner. Rui hesitated for a single frame, calculating the risks. Then she grabbed his hand. The party was formed, no turning back now. School kicks off, and this guy isn't just attending class, he is speedrunning the entire social hierarchy. He is locking targets and chatting up every girl in his peripheral vision like he is farming XP. Rui is stuck playing full-time goalie, sweating bullets because he realizes these girls aren't just interested, they are apex predators ready to send Ikuto to the culture zone. Then we get the oldest trope in the book. A girl is fighting for her life against gravity, trying to balance a stack of paper that looks heavy enough to crush a small vehicle. Ikuto doesn't just help, he teleports into the frame and snatches the load with 0 effort. The girl freezes, her brain completely blue screening from the sudden overdose of chivalry. Next up, he spots a girl looking pale. A normal person calls the nurse, but Ikuto leans in with maximum main character energy, invading her personal space like he owns the place. He casually drops the princess carry option like it is a lunch menu item. She starts panicking, knowing that level of fan service is going to spike her fever straight into the critical zone. But here is the kicker. This guy genuinely believes he is just being a helpful NPC. Rui finally spots the glitch in the matrix. Ikuto assumes he is the side character just because his best friend is the designated pretty boy. He has zero clue he is shattering hearts left and right. The man isn't just friendly, he is a walking, talking biological charm hazard. The afternoon breeze was doing that dramatic anime thing with the curtains, setting the mood in the empty classroom. Rui just stood there, staring at him like a predator watching prey. She realized something crucial right then. Her life had stopped being a snooze fest the exact second this guy walked into it. Meanwhile, Ikuto was completely out of it, face planted on the desk, probably dreaming about something stupid. Rui hovered over him, invading his personal space with zero hesitation. She whispered his name, just testing the waters to see if he was actually unconscious enough for what she was about to say. Not even a twitch from him, so she decided to go full send. She loomed over his sleeping form and dropped a massive truth bomb. She reminded him that, hey, she is actually a girl, the exact type he claims he is looking for. But here is the kicker. She is not like those randoms he chases. She does not just want any guy. Her eyes went soft, but she locked onto him with a terrifying intensity that would make a ghost shiver. She whispered the final condition. If it is for him, she would do anything. We are talking absolute ride or die loyalty. And of course, that is exactly where the chapter ends. They really just dropped a confession bomb and cut to black. Unbelievable.